Well, thank you, Madam. Thank you, everybody, for inviting me today. This is great. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be here yesterday. I'm going to be talking about the Our Water, Our World program, and when you see the word green up there, read money, as in the marketplace, if you will, and blue, of course, read clean water. It's actually very gratifying to come to a conference like this where pesticides and water are being talked about together in the same sentence in the same room by the people. 10 years ago, I don't think this would have happened. In fact, I went back to Washington in about 1999 and went to the Office of Pesticide Programs and begged them to talk to the Office of Water about water quality and pesticides. I said, they're just right over there. They're just across the Potomac. You can get there like by car. You can just get there. But they seemed like they were just a little unsure about that. But now things have changed, thankfully. So there has been some behavior change as a result of all of our hard work. I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area. I am executive director of an association of cities and counties in the Bay Area that have storm drain systems, the ones that Cliff was talking about earlier, where unlike many other parts of the country, in California we don't have combined sewers very much. San Francisco has a combined sewer. The old parts of Sacramento have a combined sewer. The rest of the state has separated sewers from storm drains. And as you were talking about earlier, I think it was the first speaker this morning, Joe, was talking about the rain yesterday. We ran into 6 o'clock last night. There was no evidence of water in the ground at 6 o'clock last night. So we heard about the thunderstorm, but it was gone by then. So storm drains do a wonderful job of moving water away from people and houses quickly to save life and property, which is very important. So the cities and county level will focus on that. BASMA was a charter member of the PESP program back in, 95, 96, something like that. And just to give you a quick thumbnail, the Our Water, Our World program is really a collaborative effort. It really is a partnership between local water pollution prevention agencies, whether they're stormwater agencies or wastewater agencies, we work with both, and locally owned nurseries and hardware stores started in the San Francisco Bay Area. And the program basically encourages the use of less, we don't use the term IPM because it doesn't mean anything to anybody. People hate acronyms, the public hates acronyms. We talk about less toxic is the kind of the wording we've landed on. Not least toxic, because we can't prove that. We say less toxic. Seems acceptable. And we promote that concept of pest prevention and pest control, if there is such a thing. At the point of sale, basically, is where we've landed. We do all kinds of other education programs, but I'm going to talk about this point of sale education program. And our focus is on surface waters, not groundwater. That was another surprise, and suburban and urban areas, not ag areas. This was another surprising thing to us in the 90s when we started talking about pesticides. And they said, what's your groundwater? No. We're talking about surface water, local creeks and estuaries where a lot of people live, not agricultural areas. That, too, was kind of a disconnect back in the early days of these programs. San Francisco Bay Area, we discovered toxicity in urban suburban creeks through stormwater in 1991, and in wastewater effluent on the wastewater side of the house, if you will, in 1993. We actually thought the toxicity was related to heavy metals. We had a problem with metals in California. We don't worry about nitrogen and phosphorus too much in California, at least not yet. We're starting to talk about it more now, but we're mostly about toxics, metals and things. We thought it was copper or something. Turned out it was this thing called diazon. We didn't have a clue what diazon was at that time. We also found chlorpyrifos at that time, and often found both were of concern. As government agencies, it's important to know that you actually have a problem before you start a government program, so we had to be clear about that with ourselves before we could start spending money on it. We also found out that roughly half of the use was from people that are not professional, are not trained, don't read the label, people like us that are using them on our homes and gardens. And that, unfortunately, in that case, they're not reporting that use, and so there's very information about what are they using, how are they using it, are they using it properly. None of that information really is available. So we had a very tough audience, a significant audience, half the people, roughly speaking, of the users were people that we didn't know what they were doing, who they were, how to get to them with our concerns and with our messages. That resulted in some responses across this landscape, if you will, in different worlds of the environmental protection world. The water regulators, the state, if you will, in 1998 in California, listed water bodies into the 303D section of the Clean Water Act as impaired by these pesticides in virtually every urbanized part of the state. they started getting listings for diazinon and chlorpyrifos or pesticides in general. Those, of course, required that the maximum daily loads would be generated for those areas. They would say, okay, how much diazinon and chlorpyrifos really can get into this system and not cause a problem with the fish and the other critters that are in those systems. The response, and I put an asterisk here because it really wasn't a direct response, but the response from the pesticide regulator side of the house, if you will, was, I don't have to go through this with you all, but this is what we did on chlorpyrifos and diazinon in the early 2000s. There are still some uses that are available, but most of the uses were not banned, but phased out for the most part. There's still a few uses that are allowed. That was good. That helped us out. The response in the marketplace, if you will, which is what we were focusing on, was that we expected, and we have seen, obviously, a very significant drop in the use of diazinon and chlorpyrifos as active ingredients in pesticides. An increasing use of other things like malathion that are still available, active ingredients, and a switch from OPs to synthetic pyrethroids, of course, in basically in the same products. And the likely result in urban areas was that we were hoping we were going to see a very significant drop in the amount of diazinon and chlorpyrifos showing up in our local creeks, because we actually had to meet a TMDL requirement. By the way, the San Francisco Bay Area TMDL target is 0 diazinon in the creek, 0. So that's a pretty tough target to meet. And our question, one of our key questions was to ourselves, this is good if the diazinon and chlorpyrifos drops off in the creeks, but will it remove the toxicity in the creek, which is really prompted the whole thing in the first place. We also were concerned that among the things that we all buy and keep under our kitchen sink or in our garage, pesticides are one of the things that you'll find people keep for a really long period of time. They just don't get rid of it. You can go to San Francisco, one of the most urbanized parts of the state, and people still have DDT in their garages. You talk to the ag commissioners in San Francisco, they say, you can't believe how much DDT is still sitting in people's garages in San Francisco where there's nothing but pavement and there's nothing to use it on, but they still got their DDT just in case. They may not even know they have it still, but they've got it. The other concern, of course, is after the phase-out, by early 2005, it really was going to be only residents that were going to have access to this stuff anymore, because the pest control operators, of course, were not going to be using it anymore. And that the unreported uses and that whole problem not getting much information was going to get worse because the professionals weren't going to use it anymore. And the other key question we asked ourselves was, part of our concern about diazinon and chlorpyrifos was there was so much of it being used, and we figured out that it only took maybe a couple percent, I think 0.2% of diazinon getting away from somebody, if you will, to cause a problem in the local creek, to cause toxicity in the creek. So we were worried about, well, it's just a sheer volume issue. There's just so much is being used, even an accident is all you really need. So we're concerned about the pesticides that were to follow, of course, which ended up in us focusing on pyrethroids. The response by the people I work with, cities and counties, was that we started looking at there may be a significant opportunity to work with the public in this major use category. And these are some of the kinds of things here, these bullets, outreach, advertising, media relations. These are all things that stormwater programs do all the time. Stormwater does not get treated with a wastewater treatment plant. So everything we do is about behavior change. Everything we do is about raising awareness and trying to get people to understand what they do in their daily lives, where they live, where they work, where they play, where they drive. Probably causes problems for stormwater. So we're always talking about brake pads in your car, pesticides, your dog's waste, everything you can imagine, through all these different mechanisms. And so point of purchase was a new one for us, but we decided it was probably maybe the key one we should be focusing on. And that was sort of the beginning of the Our World program. The basic goals were to educate people about IPM and the value of IPM. I'm going to tell you about a few key aspects to getting the message across. So one of the keys is not to go negative. We talked about being negative or not. We decided not to go negative, and there's a key reason why is because we're going to be working with retailers. They're going to be volunteering. If we went negative and said, don't use this, don't use that, not many retailers are going to take us up on our offer to work with them. So we said, we're not going to go negative. That was hard for some of the folks I work with educators. They tend to be advocates. They always want to push a little bit. And we said, no, we can't go there. We're going to have to just bite the bullet and be positive and not do that. We can be factual, but we can't, let's not be negative. If we say something, it has to be based on facts. Like we do have a problem with a particular issue or a particular pesticide, but we don't want to go beyond that. Other parts of the goals were to develop a partnership with stores. So we're out there educating as people that work for cities and counties, but here's another messenger, if you will, working with the stores and working with people that were using pesticides. That was an appealing thing. We also want to make sure that the program had broad appeal, as